selection protocols.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Sean McDonald. I'm the Supervisor of Recruitment and Specialty Programs with Prince William County Schools. And I'm going to go ahead and get us started here with our first slide. When we think about the work that happens in Prince William County Public Schools, all of that work is focused on ensuring that we're working to realize the vision that's been established by our superintendent. So we all know that every student will graduate on time with the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind necessary to create a thriving future for themselves and their community. That is our vision, and every single thing that we do is related or tied back to that particular vision. So to provide a little bit of context about Prince William County Schools, so you can get to know a little bit about us, as you can see from the slide, we serve a little over 89,000 students, which makes us the second largest school division in the state of Virginia and the 32nd largest in the United States. We have a very diverse community. We're the most diverse community and most diverse public school system in Virginia, and the 10th most diverse county in the United States. Our students are in 101 different schools and specialty locations. 32% of our students are economically disadvantaged, and 26% of our students are English language learners, with over 144 languages spoken across our community and folks coming from 121 different nations around the world. And we do employ just over 17,000 employees. As you can see from the slide, just about 10,000 or just over 10,000 are school-based employees.
All right, I already messed this up. All right, so I got to remember to unmute myself. So as we move on, as I talked a little bit about, a big focus of what we're doing is on belonging, and I know that it's no surprise, it's no shock to all of anybody in human resources. Belonging is just an incredible aspect to teacher engagement and teacher employee retention and recruitment. So we're going to have you all do a little thinking activity here. And, I don't know, I should have asked ahead of time, but we'll see if some folks can unmute and share out as we do these activities. So our first activity, we'd just like for you to spend a minute or two discussing a time when you felt a strong sense of belonging in your professional life. So not your personal life, but your professional life. And be prepared. We'll give you a couple minutes, and then we're hoping a couple people would like to share out what was that situation where you felt like you truly belonged in your professional life, and then how did you respond to that? So did anything change? Did anything grow with you when you had that experience? So we'll take about a minute or two. I'll mute myself. Give yourself a time to think about it, and then we'll come back on in just a second.
Does anybody want to share anything at all about a time when they really felt like they belonged in their professional life?
I'm happy to share.
Yes, please do.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Frost, and I am the Human Resources Director at McMinnville School District. And I think a really strong time in my professional life where I felt a sense of belonging was actually when I first connected with this group, Oregon School Personnel Association. I had been working in HR and trying to figure things out on my own. And I joined OSPA and just met a network of people that were willing to support the work I was doing, that I could ask questions to and not feel silly for not knowing the answer, and just a really safe place to grow professionally. And so how I responded then was by when I felt comfortable with what I was doing and my skills, then I gave back by joining the board and contributing to the organization, mentoring other new HR directors, and then continuing to be involved with this organization. So really important to me that I've been able to professionally connect with the people that I see on the screen and people across the organization to support this really hard work that we're all doing.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share out? Maybe one more?
I can do one. I would absolutely agree with what Stephanie had to say about OSPA and feeling connected in once you have some experience under your belt, feeling like you can give back. I could give a lot of examples, I think, because I've been fortunate to work in some really great places with great people. But one of the ones that comes to mind recently is sorry, there's something popping up on the screen that was something that comes to mind really recently is actually a little bit more of a personal one that really filled my cup and filled my heart. I just became a first-time grandma about 11 weeks ago, and my staff here, many people held a Grammy shower for me, and that was just huge. I mean, that was just really fulfilling, and it was just amazing. So I just started here with High Desert ESD back in July, and boy, talk about a way to make you feel welcome. That was just really awesome.
Awesome, thank you. So, Jeff, if you want to go to the next one. So, this is another little reflection activity. Will take about a minute. So this is the opposite of that. Think about a time when you did not feel a strong sense of belonging in your professional life, and what was the situation, and how did you respond to that? So a time when you knew you did not belong in your professional life, what it was, and how you responded. We'll come back in just a little bit. Anybody have any thoughts on or want to share a time when you felt and you knew you truly did not belong somewhere? It's all right. I'll share out on this one. Okay, this is sort of the response we got in Seattle as well. This is a harder one to share out, um, and be vulnerable for some of us because, like for me, my situation, I was in a workplace, and I was actually working as an assistant principal, and I was told that because of the fact that I was a gay male, I would not ever become a principal. So, that resonated with me. And I was young at the time, and I didn't really think to push back or correct it. I was just kind of like, well, I don't think I like you. And, as I got to working there a little bit more, I realized that it wasn't the place that I belonged. And so that was the situation that I faced. And then in this case, and kind of what I did was I responded by leaving. And I think, and then becoming in a position such as this, and I'm thrilled that I'm able to join my colleagues and share on situations like belonging and how we can learn from different circumstances, um, and do what we can to keep our employees engaged. So with that, I'm gonna keep talking a little bit. We can skip the debriefing one, Jeff, because we just did that,
Okay.
and turn it over to you to belonging.
Well, I make a bit of a business case for the importance of belonging. The Oftentimes you hear folks talk about them as new terms for diversity and inclusion efforts. It's not accurate enough. You could perhaps say they are results of successful inclusion efforts, but it goes a little bit beyond that. And I'm just going to give you two little nuggets that I hope drive home the importance of belonging. The private sector is spending millions upon millions of this because they're recognizing a few things. One of the earliest studies I could find on it came from a group called Better Up, and it was published in Harvard Business Review. And they interviewed 2,000 people at work and asked them questions about their feelings of belonging at work. And then they went on and did some interesting game theory studies on them, had them play games where some were intentionally left out and others were. It was really kind of fascinating. And their results were pretty unequivocal. Folks who felt like they belonged at their environment or at their place of business were, where you can see the data there, 167 times more likely to promote their employer, to recommend their employer to others. 56% more likely to have increased job performance, 75% reduction in sick days, 50% reduction in turnover risk. They extrapolated it out to a $15 million savings in companies of 10,000 or more. I don't know how that would extrapolate out to our work because the profit motive's a little bit different for us, but we don't work in a vacuum either. In HR, we realize we're over and managing and leading the most expensive thing we do as a school district. And if we could see improvements in those areas, it would certainly be worth it. I took this quote out from their paper that I thought was spot on, in that humans are so fundamentally social that we can even bond with strangers over the very experience of not having someone to bond with. And anyone who's ever stepped foot in a teacher's lounge or around a water cooler will know the truth of that statement. The second nugget I would give you to try and make, and certainly remember these two instances here about job performance and reduction in turnover risk, because I talk about a gal named Pat Waiters. I'm not sure if you know who she is. She is the Chief People Officer for Kronos, or I'm sorry, UKG now. That's a company of over 10,000. They're valued around 20 billion. I imagine some of you may use some of their software in your time for school or timekeeping and a number of other areas. She is widely regarded as one of the foremost rock stars in human resources. She's just widely regarded in the field. And she did her own study. She was asked to speak on belonging and did her own study, and with her workforce of certainly 10,000, might be 15,000. And they found that the two biggest correlations for engagement and intent to stay is belonging. If you want people, when I'm leading all these efforts, if you want folks to be engaged in the work and you want to have them stay, promote belonging along the way. It just goes without saying how important it is. It is not a feel-good initiative. It's a business imperative, for lack of a better term. And that led us to our large strategic initiative as part of the strategic plan Sean talked about earlier, and that's the You Belong Here initiative, which encompasses all many areas of the employee life cycle.
All right. So, talking a little bit about our strategic plan, every school division operates with a strategic plan. I will say I'm fortunate to be in a school division that the strategic plan is not something that sits on the shelf. And as much as sometimes when we're working on our continuous improvement plan or something like that, and we refer back to the strategic plan, you kind of, here comes the strategic plan again. But when you truly live by it and it becomes part of what your daily focus is and what your growth plans are, it does make a difference. So our strategic plan, these are just some of the nuggets from what we have right now. Our objective 2 under positive climate and culture, PWCS staff will be empowered, supported, and engaged with a strong sense of belonging. So that really drives our work with what we're doing. And our goal is to make 90% of our employees reporting high levels of satisfaction, engagement, and connection to colleagues. 23-24 data, we're at 83%. Our retention data, so this plan kind of has 3 different parts to it. So our retention data was actually at 91.8%. So we are forecasting some strong gains as a total there and bringing up our 83%. We do fully anticipate, based on some data collection we have right now, to meet that 90% goal. So as Jeff was saying, part of what we did was we created a initiative called the You Belong Here initiative. And what we had to do, because we are a large school division, is had to really come up with how are we going to align this so that it reaches all departments, all offices, and also our staff and our students. So we formed a team. Actually, there were several focus groups, several committees. We included substitutes, teaching assistants, transportation, and then our administrators. And we came up with what PWCS felt as our pillars of belonging. And so you can see there that they are valued, included, engaged, welcomed, and supported. So those were going to be our driving words, so to say, that everything we did was we were able to bring back to these pillars. So we want to make sure our staff are feeling valued. We want to make sure they're included, engaged, welcomed, and supported. Fortunately for us, by the end of it, and this was like a year process, the beginning letters spelled out views. So VIEWS. So we were very thankful for that. Just a
It
little
also
tip.
spells out wives, by the way, if you arrange it differently, but
Sure does. Jeff, thanks for that. One thing I always like to point out with this slide is when this went through many iterations, and one of the most interesting things was we had encouraged to grow. So where we had supported, the committee had chosen encouraged to grow as that phrase that we were going to work on. We met with our classified staff through our focus groups and trainings, and they really did a nice job talking us out of, no, I don't want to say talking us out of, but getting us to rethink, encourage to grow, because a lot of them feel pressure that their job is not good enough, and they're constantly being told to, why not do this? Where they are just happy in the job that they have, but they want to be supported in that position. So it kind of brought a new light to how we looked at things, and we chose, instead of encourage to grow, to make sure that everybody is always supported. All right. Sean, I believe I'll
Yeah.
pass things over to you.
All right. Thanks, Matt. So ultimately, as we developed our pillars of belonging and ensuring that we were creating messaging that was going to resonate not only with our current employees, but potential job seekers, we started to develop this You Belong Here campaign. So as you can see, we developed out a recruitment logo that was utilized as part of this campaign. And we launched this this media campaign focused on increasing awareness of our brand. And so we utilized a wide variety of different resources to share out the good news about things that are happening in Prince William County schools. One, again, to ensure that we were recruiting potential talent to our organization, but two, helping to build up the level of commitment and recognition of our brand amongst our current employees. So it served both as a recruitment and a retention tool. We did use a wide variety of mediums to send this messaging out. We took out airport ads at baggage claim and hallways of terminals. We utilized connected and streaming TV resources. We utilized local venues. So we put up dasher boards at the local ice rink. We put up signs at a raceway that was nearby. And we took out an ad on the outfield jumbotron at the local Fred Nationals baseball team. We utilized movie theaters and developed an epic movie trailer to share information prior to folks seeing a movie. And then we also utilized a geofencing tool to reserve ads to them after they left the movie theater. We use radio and music streaming, local TV news broadcasts, and then gas station TV. Ultimately, our campaign has been extremely effective in reaching a wide range of individuals. Last year's campaign reached over 5 million people. To date, for the current year's effort, we've reached well over 11 million people in terms of our impressions. And ultimately, that's translated to significant engagement with our brand and folks going to our website and clicking on our job opportunities and trying to learn more about our organization. One of the most important outcomes from a recruitment standpoint was that we recognized or realized rather yearly increases of our month-over-month increases rather of our applicants when we look back to the previous year and previous 2 years. So our applications were up as a result of this campaign. And then from a retention standpoint, we got lots of positive feedback from members of the PWCS community, be it current staff members, board members, retirees, and other folks in the community, just reaching back to say, hey, I saw this ad at Reagan National Airport, for instance, and it really just instilled that sense of pride in our organization. We're so happy to see that and have the opportunity to engage with our brand. So we're going to share just a couple of those examples of some of those efforts that were made as it relates to this campaign. So the first one is the ad that we used on gas station TV to engage folks around our brand and specifically to try and recruit bus drivers. And it looks like for some reason we're having a hard problem with the audio. So Jeff, can you double check the audio?
Yeah, it's playing on my end. I don't know how to play it through Zoom, I'm afraid. Anybody on know how to switch the audio on Zoom so I can play the system audio?
Let me just check and see if I have some.
So while they're trying to troubleshoot that, I'm going to just mention two other potential ads that you'll see following this. So this initial one, again, as I mentioned, was utilized with gas station TV. So those are the TV screens that when you drive up to a gas pump and you hear and see ads, that's where that was displayed. The next one we have, and we hope we'll be able to share with you, is an ad that we used at the Dominion Raceway, which is a regional motorsports and entertainment venue. And our chief operating officer it was recorded, and the video was shown before the race began and kicking off that race. Are we ready to try again, Jeff?
Yeah, I can't seem to find on my end. It might be. Let me look at.
When you start your Zoom, there's a button that shares sound. So we may not be able to do it at this point without ending the PowerPoint and coming back in. So.
Oh wait, let me just 1 second. Let me see if I can go in and.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And thank you everyone for your patience.
I am not finding it. Let me do, is there a way to put the captions on for right now until I can get
Jeff, I want to ask, do you have this video on your desktop outside of Zoom? Because you could end Zoom and then display it that way.
We do. It's kind of hard to get to, and we
the other
actually
thing
knew.
is, do you have a link to the recording, like a YouTube or a Vimeo, or do you have it hosted somewhere? Because then
we don't.
we can. Oh, we don't. Okay.
We don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we tried and I can explain the kind of the rationale as to why, because ultimately we were our each of these campaigns, we were really working hard to capture data to ensure that we were getting a positive return on investment as it relates to each of the individual campaigns. So each of the campaigns was launched in a way that the video wasn't shared on YouTube or other resources because we wanted to make sure that the traffic that was coming into our website was coming directly from the venues from at which we were advertising. So we did limit that, and so ultimately these are three demonstrations of some um, attempts to ensure that we were reaching a broad range of potential candidates and also working to retain our current staff.
Sean, thank you so much. Let me just say to everyone, Sean, Matt, and Jeff, they have already sent their presentation to us. And when you go to their presentation, you'll be able to watch all of these on your own time because it will work in their presentation, just not on Zoom. So thank you guys for that. I apologize that we can't show it on Zoom, but we'll look at it on our own afterwards.
The bus driver one is the fan favorite, far and away.
Okay, that's good to know. We'll send you some feedback on that, Jeff.
All right. Well, so moving along, yeah, thank you. So moving along, I just want to say that, we're committed as an organization to fostering belonging at every stage of the employee cycle. But we know that it's particularly important to demonstrate that commitment early on in terms of engaging candidates. So many of us, likely all of us, are facing shortages of candidates to fill key roles such as teaching positions, school administrator positions, bus drivers, and many others. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to engage all of our hiring managers to serve as recruiters for the district. To support that effort, we took some steps to develop a toolkit that we've put on our intranet site containing resources to support the recruiting, hiring, and retention and selection functions. So an example of one of those resources within the toolkit is a set of talking points highlighting the reasons why candidates should choose PWCS. This tool helps all of our busy administrators to bring uniformity to the messaging and supports the overall recruitment for the school division. Our division continues to focus on growing our talent, or growing our own talent rather, and many of you likely have programs which support growth opportunities within your district. And several of the initiatives that we utilize are listed on the slide. I'd like to highlight a new initiative that we implemented this past fall, and that is compensating our student teachers. So in this past fall, we offered this opportunity in exchange for a 3-year teaching commitment. PWCS is offering student teachers compensation while completing their student teaching placement. Aligned with internship models utilized in many other industries, our hope is to providing compensation to student teachers will eliminate some of the barriers individuals face when entering the teaching profession. Well, we don't necessarily have data on the long-term impact. I'm very happy to report that over the course of the fall and now the spring semesters, more than 50% of our current student teachers have taken us up on that opportunity, which will ultimately translate to an increased hiring of our student teachers for the next school year. So the other thing that we really worked hard to emphasize is this idea or this term of called candidate care. And candidate care simply is a term that we've adopted to encapsulate our goal to ensure candidates feel engaged and supported throughout the application and onboarding process. Many of our teacher candidates are hired in mid to late spring, with August being their official start date. So in order to ensure that new teachers remain engaged and committed to PWCS, one of our staffing supervisors worked to write them personal notes and try and engage them throughout the course of the summer months to ensure that they don't get distracted by other potential opportunities with other employers. This note serves as a touch point and signals our commitment to belonging. Additionally, we work to send email updates to candidates throughout the summer to encourage them to continue to stay engaged with the school district. Um, we're also working to provide candidates with a little bit more of an level of engagement, increased engagement rather, in the research related to why selecting PWCS and how to successfully complete an application, and some interview tips for them as they engage further in the process. And this is modeled after some exemplars in the private industry, but we're working to produce a series of short videos for candidates, which will walk them through the application process. And I would now like to turn things over to my colleague, Jeff.
Well, and Sean kind of touched on it a little bit about how it starts early. Belonging does not start their first day on the job. It starts the first moment they consider Prince William, or your organization, of course, as a potential destination. But in HR, obviously, we're not necessarily the tip of the spear. Our principals are, our assistant principals are, all of our hiring managers who are ultimately responsible for candidate care and make the difference with all the candidates. My big project here was part of rolling out uniform selection processes. As you saw, we're a rather large organization. We have approximately 800 hiring managers of one sort or another across 100 different schools and locations. But this component of human resources management is something we don't get a whole lot of training in. All three of us came from the schools before HR. And we recognize that our hiring managers approach it at differing levels of expertise and differing levels of importance. I try to make a case that it's perhaps the most important thing you do as a principal or other education leader. As part of this same strategic plan, there were three very distinct goals as for this uniform selection process and this staff development with leaders. One of them is to increase the efficiency. We can't promise to have the best, most thorough selection program. It moves too quickly for that, of course. Reduce bias. And of course, we're unapologetic that we want to hire the most highly qualified, diverse staff we can find and employ. All of the verbs in there are really just applaud. This idea of reducing bias, you can't ever eliminate it, led to some very good professional learning with our hiring managers. I had several challenges if you want to take on training your hiring managers in selection processes or any training in human resources management for that matter. Some of the challenges where there's no differentiation. We had hiring managers who had been doing it for 20 years and thought they knew it all up and down, along with folks who've been doing it for 20 minutes. Who is responsible? Is this an HR function or a school function? And of course, the lack of candidates. I mean, many have joked or said about, isn't it going to be a pulse check? We're so short of teachers. Of course, we'd rather have no one than the wrong one. And our answers to this varied. Of course, there's an important compliance piece that is critical to us, but we can answer all sorts of other good principled, PLE, reasons to principals, PAL, before leaning into compliance. First of all, lean into being practitioners. This is not a static skill. I've been a hiring manager in this field for going on 29 years, and the things we're doing now are not necessarily the same things we did decades ago. Some of the questions and some of the competencies we look for evolve and change with time. But we really need our hiring managers to lean into promoting PWCS as a professional destination and belonging. And that's an area of selection and the candidate care piece that goes with it that they haven't always considered. I use Sean as an example. They haven't always considered that maybe Sean isn't the candidate for this job right now, but he might be for the future. More importantly, he might have friends who are excellent candidates. We want our interviewees to not just be potential employees. We want them to be brand ambassadors for Prince William. Gone are the days of the stress test interview. We want everyone leaving the interview thinking, we can't wait to work there, and training up our hiring managers in. That was a very, very important piece. Retention strategies along the way to promote belonging. I believe this is you, is it not, Sean?
It is. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
All right, so we worked really hard to, again, look back at this "you belong here" concept and figure out ways that we could work to promote the retention aspect of the work. And one of the things that we came up with was taking an opportunity to provide more access and opportunity to recognize employees for all of their outstanding work. So we do have, or we had prior to now, an end of the year celebration of individuals who were gone through a nomination process and were selected as of the year candidates, so teacher of the year, principal of the year, etc. But we felt it was important to try and intersperse additional opportunities for recognition throughout the course of the school year. And what we landed on was this idea of being PWCS proud and taking the time to recognize individual employees who really exemplify the key characteristics that we're looking for in individuals to support the overall mission and vision of the organization and key tenets of the strategic plan. We launched this program in the fall, and we had a very strong outpouring of nominations. So any member of the PWCS community, any stakeholder of the PWCS community can nominate a staff member for this recognition. So that includes students, community members, other staff members, business folks in the business community, et cetera, can all nominate individuals. And what we do is we have a committee that reviews those nominations, and we select 4 individuals to highlight on a seasonal basis, so over the course of 3 different times over the course of the year. And it was such a great opportunity for us to read about and celebrate the individuals who were nominated. Additionally, we really work hard at the beginning of the employment life cycle to welcome individuals to our organization. So we host an annual new employee welcome event. And we work to partner with members of our community and businesses. They come in and they share information about businesses and services that are available to our employees. We have folks on hand from a number of PWCS departments, HR, payroll, benefits, and some others that are able to answer individual questions as it relates to the onboarding process for new employees. And then we also have a mobile health unit in place that provides some basic health screenings. And we were fortunate enough to be able to offer flu vaccines to anyone that attended the event and took part in that health screening process. Additionally, we work really hard to recruit teachers, not only from here in the United States, but from all over the world. We do partner with an organization to sponsor individuals through the J1 Exchange Visitor program to come into our schools and teach for anywhere from 3 to 5 years. We currently have 333 international teachers on staff from all over the world, and we work really hard to welcome our international teachers and demonstrate to them when they first arrive and throughout the course of their employment that Prince William County Public Schools is a premier work destination. So when folks arrive on their very first day, they come up to our office on coach buses. We have cheerleaders, a band, and just folks standing outside cheering them on and welcoming them as part of their arrival process. Then we work really hard to develop and implement multiple touch points with folks throughout the course of the year. And that takes the form of professional development opportunities and also social activities that they can engage in to, one, have that ongoing touch point with folks from our team, but also can continue to foster those relationships that they developed with other new international teachers at the beginning of the school year. Additionally, we are very focused on ensuring that we're evaluating our overall effort, and we're currently engaged in an internal audit that is focused on retention of employees. And some of the objectives of the audit are found there on your screen, but again, this is a focus on this idea of continuous improvement and taking a look at all the strategies that we have put into place, and also looking to uncover additional strategies that may be available to us through taking a look at literature around effective practices and working hard to implement those where we see fit. And I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Weigel.
There we go. All right. So just a little bit, for a lot of us, this is not new material here, but I do think it's important that if you haven't or you aren't using stay interviews and exit interviews, you look at the difference between the two. We have really started to focus on our stay interviews here in Prince William County, and we ask our principals to do that throughout the year. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with stay interviews, it's just we're not waiting until they leave. I mean, by the time they leave, it's too late, and we're not collecting that data. So we're using stay interviews. We have a series of 5 questions that, as a division, we've asked principals to use so that we can potentially collect data, but we've also given the opportunity for our principals to say, no, I want to ask these questions. So we're not mandating that they ask those 5 questions, but it's a very short personal interview with your teachers. When I was a principal, I used stay interviews quite intensively, and it was honestly where I got my best data. Just make sure that when you do stay interviews, what I've learned is that we really had to train up our administrators to use those. A lot of times they did things in good intentions, but they weren't the best practice. So as far as not connecting these to evaluative meetings, they need to be different than that so that our teachers are feeling and our staff members are feeling that they're open to share the best information. Now, that being said, we do still use exit interviews, and we still plan to use exit interviews because it also gives us some data points that we may not get in that stay interview. So we still do both here in Prince William County. We have just been putting an emphasis more on the stay interviews as a proactive measure. And then, I by no means I want to preface this. This was a repeated slide that I've used in other presentations. So I am not a vendor. I'm not trying to sell you anything. This just happens to be the vendor that we utilize to help with our engagement process. So we do use Upbeat. And Upbeat is a teacher engagement survey. So instead of a division-wide survey, we utilize Upbeat. Upbeat comes with coaching and focuses on about 15 to 20, I believe, different domains that we collect data on throughout. There's a fall administration and a spring administration. Right now, one of our biggest ones that we look at is we look at work-life balance and we look at belonging and well-being. What's the other one that we tend to focus on? Professional development. Those seem to be our heavy hitters right now, where we're trying to figure out what is it that teachers are struggling with, what is it that we as a school division and our school leaders can do to really focus on work-life balance, professional development that they're getting, and also that belonging and well-being piece. So with that process, we utilize our in-house division survey, and then we also utilize a lot of what Upbeat brings to us. So these are some of our efforts. Since we put the You Belong Here effort in there, we chose 27, I believe, pilot schools, and these are those 27 schools. So you can see on the graph where we either had green is a engagement score increase, yellow is a decrease, engagement score stayed the same if it's in gray. And school L, we were unable to complete because not enough people took the survey in that school. So, and that's okay. But you can see that with the efforts we've put into place, we want to see green, and that is what we're seeing. And we also saw a lot of green in our retention um, efforts as well with these pilot schools. So each year we're adding more and more schools, and we're hoping to see more and more green as they come along. You'll see there's not incredible jumps in our engagement scores, but and I apologize, I did mean to share our retention scores as well, and I forgot that slide. Our retention scores, some of our schools had 20% or higher gains from the previous year to the last year. So, you know, it's just an effort, like I said, and like Sean and Jeff have shared, that's driven by the strategic plan to really look and see what is it that we can do to provide our staff members with that sense of belonging and increase their engagement to not get on that LinkedIn or not click on that Indeed link where they see a new job come up and know that they feel like and we can show that they belong here in Prince William County.
As the final stage in the employee life cycle is, of course, the departure. And it's a little bit unique here. Some things are a little bit unique. Some of our pressures might be unique to you, or some of them won't be unique at all. But again, need to be intentional about how we exit and potentially how we reemploy. Some of these things, of course, we still do exit surveys, of course, and again, we value the stay survey much more, but we do, of course, still do the exit survey and have retirement return opportunities. I'm not sure what they are in Oregon, but a lot of that's governed by the pension and by the rules surrounding the pension, and divisions in Virginia have a lot more leeway with what they do, and we have a region leading one where we let them come back. Our leave and benefits program is outstanding. Again, we're surrounded by a lot of other competing divisions. The largest division is right next door to us with 200,000 students. The third one, we border the third largest division as well. So we're all competing for the same candidate. And along with that comes what we call legacy hires. We'll hire close to 1,000, give or take, people, certified people each year. Fully, nearly 17% of those are returning PWCS employees. People move, people come back. Perhaps the grass wasn't greener, but we want people to leave recognizing that a return is always a viable strategy. And of course, what we spoke of earlier with the candidate care piece, even if they don't return, we want them to be our brand ambassadors out in the world with folks who are looking for a professional home. This is something that we is our part of our next step. Of course, continuing the engagement of our employees in the process is going to be ongoing. But our next initiatives are certainly when you have 17% of your certified hires returning, you need to enhance those steps to bring and what you can do to keep them engaged after the fact. So that's coming soon. I'm not sure if that's near a stressor for you. Perhaps in some of your larger metro areas, you may see some of that. But obviously, we believe 17% returning, or as I affectionately call them, boomerangs, is quite a bit. And I believe that's all we have. Matt or Sean, do you have finishing thoughts or questions or anything you want to ask for them?
No, I believe that we wanted to leave 10 or so minutes to see if you all had any questions based on what we talked about today. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat there for us, or just unmute yourself and ask away.
I see Amanda Bennett found how to share the system sound. Thank you, Amanda. But I think I needed to do it at the beginning.
So I will add in. I'm going to go back up to the slide where Sean talked about, because it's one of my favorite things we've done, the PWCS
Watch
Proud
record.
program. And with that teacher recognition, I'll say I came from a very small school division when I came to Prince William County. So I came from a school division of about 7 people to a school division of you saw our demographics. And what I naively went into was, and Sean probably heard me say this several times, why is it so hard to recognize our staff? What I failed to realize is that when you're in a large school division and we're in the litigious age that we're in, we have to make sure that we're being very systematic, very fair, and very unbiased in the process. So with that, we did create rubrics that the scoring committee uses, and we had to realize that those rubrics are foilable, and all of the nominations and so forth are foilable as well. So we had to be very careful. And again, we are in a litigious area, so we needed to make sure that what we had in place um, was what we needed. We also found out that our rubric, our first round rubric, didn't quite pull at the individuals we wanted because it was so based on our strategic plan, which was based on students. So a lot of our facilities and other folks, it wasn't necessarily grabbing a full look. So we had to revamp what that rubric looks like. So that's why we called this our pilot year for this program. But there were little nuances that we did not expect to run into that we did run into with this process. But we had like Sean said, we had a great turnout for it. We had about 122 initial nominations for it, and narrowing those down to four was quite a challenge, but it was definitely well worth the effort. And we social media blasted those folks out, and for our younger generations, that's what they want. They want that attention that they can share with their families. So, just another plug for an easy thing to do. So I thought, and it turned out to be easy. We just needed to have the steps in place.
Well, Sean, Matt, and Jeff, it's still early on the West Coast. They know I had to think about it since I'm in Texas today. But thank you so much. I mean, this is like perfect timing. We're all approaching our recruitment season. As a matter of fact, we're going to have our statewide Oregon Professional Educator Fair in March. So all of this is perfect. You just dropped some amazing ideas. I know my partner, Jennifer Duvall, and I was just talking about things that you've mentioned and shared that we really want to include in our help course. So this has truly been great. I can't thank you guys enough. I'm going to give my folks one more opportunity. Are there any questions whatsoever?
I could ask a question about the STAY survey, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I've done STAY surveys in the past, and have been in smaller school systems where I, as the HR director, have gone out and sat with people and done a very quick, face-to-face survey. Did I hear you say that you're having building administrators do those? Are they face-to-face? Because you're in a huge system, so I wonder how you're able to get those done.
Absolutely. It's a great question. So not every school is using the stay interviews right now, but we did a lot of research behind it, worked with SHRM a little bit, and what we determined is that the best way to utilize the stay interview is to have that person's administrator do it. So we set out a challenge to them. We're not requiring at this point, but we set out a challenge to them to maybe do 5 or 10. And then we also put on there that, and they do have to be face to face. We did put some expectations in place. They have to be face to face. No, necessarily, we don't want you sitting down and taking notes and turning them back into us. That's not what we're looking for with what we want the stay interview data to be purposeful for the school administrator. And so that's kind of what we turned over there. And no more than 30 minutes. So we did put some guidelines in place, but we did have to really train our school administrators for what to ask, what to listen for, how to seek the feedback, and most importantly, who to focus on. So we did challenge them to focus on teachers in their first 1 to 3 years that they really want to make sure stays. And we're not also looking at teachers that we don't necessarily want to stay with us, so to speak. So we call them our well, there are special ones that we end up giving so much time to through the professional improvement plan or targeted support plan that they're getting that feedback. So we want to make sure that these stay interviews are getting feedback from folks that maybe aren't necessarily getting that attention through improvement plans.
Hmm.
But to your point, we are definitely not hitting everybody, and we I don't know how we could, but nobody from central office is doing it. Now we did challenge our office staff, so like myself as a supervisor, I do stay on interviews on my employees. So the directors are doing stay interviews on like their admin assistants and supervisors and coordinators as well. So we wanted to show our principals that this is a division-wide process and it's not just for, another thing for them to do. So the school leaders that we've gotten feedback from that are utilizing the stay interviews have had nothing but positive results so far. And we always have to tell them that it's a time investment and we recognize that.
Thank you.
Guys, I really can't thank you enough. You were awesome in Seattle. You're awesome virtual for us in Oregon. I so much appreciate it. And I don't think anyone on our team is really disappointed that we're letting them go a few minutes early. They can take advantage of the stretch break. If I were you, I would still not take that do not disturb sign down. I'm just saying protect yourselves. But other than that, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys either at the Educators Shortage Conference in Anaheim or the Diversity Conference in Chicago. All right. Take care, guys. And I
Thank you
already
all.
made a note, Matt, letting her know how wonderful that you gave Upbeat a shout out. She's pleased.
Awesome. Awesome. Like I said, I'm certainly not trying to sell their product, but
We
it's just the one that we chose to use.
They're one of our sponsors also, so we understand. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
then shout them out. That's fine.
All right, guys. I'll see the rest of you at
10:30.
10:30 in your next session.
All
Enjoy the
right.
celebration time. Bye, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.